Well, in a recent video, somebody made the comment about it was really cool how my horse liked to be with me, and that's true, it did. But if you treat them nice, they all like to be with you. This one here is well, she's got very minimal training. She hasn't been ridden yet. She's pretty young yet. And yet she likes to be with me. And, well, you just saw her. She just walked up to me and said hi to me. And she's standing right here. Actually, prior to, leave my junk alone, will you? Prior to coming in the arena, all I did was, I opened the door to let another horse in, and, well, she decided she wanted to be with me. She was standing outside the door waiting, and first chance she got when I opened the door, and she came. In fact, two of the horses in here today are not mine. They just decided they were coming in here with me. But I want to talk about a video I did recently. Just a couple videos ago, I was talking about how the process of catching works, and it's totally counterintuitive. And, well, the concept of things not being what we think they're supposed to be is sort of what I want to talk about today. And it goes right back to a line in my intro. It says, "There is a better way, let's find it." But in order to find a better way, we have to be willing to consider things that don't make sense. Because, well, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. But if you truly have a passion for seeking out the better way, you're going to find it. But in order to find it, though, you really do have to consider some really absurd things. And even if 20 people tell you, well, this is how it's done, well, and the way that you come across might be not make any sense at all, maybe that is the right way. And, well, that's how you're going to get better. By considering things that don't make sense, considering the impossible, the unlikely, the illogical. I mean, these are all things that, we really struggle with because, well, like I said, there have been many times in my life where I've been presented with things that were so absurd that it's like, no, I can't even consider that because that makes no sense at all. It's kind of like I said with the horse catching thing. It's like, why would I want to chase away an animal I'm trying to catch? That doesn't make any sense at all, right? So we have to consider the things that don't make any sense at all if we want to actually eventually get the things that work and work better. Well, in some ways, or they're just nicer to the horse or safer for you. There's a lot of different ways of doing things and different reasons for doing things different ways that, well, there's more to it. It's not just the obvious stuff and that's where a lot of people fall short is they just look at the obvious, what's in front of them, and without giving it a great deal of thought that would lead to a better understanding of the horse and a better understanding of what you're doing. So, does it make sense? Well, maybe it doesn't. But if you want something that works, maybe it won't make sense. In fact, that's probably one of my downfalls in a way. Well, I don't consider it, but it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to, again, one of the horses is not even mine. She's quite happy to be with me. She was about a foot away from me when she walked past me. That's how comfortable she is with me. Anyhow, yeah, one of my downfalls is I do things differently because I consider the absurd, the unlikely, the impossible, what doesn't make sense. And that puts me in a minority. I mean, my style of doing things is probably, well, I know I'm not the only one. There are other guys that do it the same way as I do, but honestly, we're still definitely in a minority, maybe only 5, maybe 10%, maybe 15. I don't know exactly what's going on these days as far as who's doing what and the methods and techniques that they're using. But I can pretty much guarantee that, well, we're never going to be the popular ones, but that's okay. You don't necessarily have to be popular to be right. So that's another thing, is a lot of people get real uncomfortable about being in a minority and not being accepted by the larger group. And this is the way it's done. You got to do it our way, or you're not like us. You're not an equestrian. You're not a horseman. You're not a trainer. You're not a whatever. And if you don't do it their way, they're not going to accept you. Well, I mentioned before that, well, a lot of people do things that way. They think that if they can convince you to do the things the same as them, it makes them feel better about how they're doing things. And, well, don't worry about that. Do what works. Do what's right. Do what you know is the right thing to be doing. Because remember, there is a better way. And many times over, you are going to find really strange things. But I've gotten to the point now where I've found so many really strange things that just don't make sense that I'm actually almost looking for the strange things that don't make sense now, because the things that don't make sense are quite often the things that work. Well, that's been my experience anyhow. So just because something doesn't make sense doesn't mean it isn't the right way to do it. And you have to be open-minded. You have to consider the possibility of something that's off the charts, weird, absurd. You're in a minority. Yep, you're going to definitely be in a minority, I guarantee that. And not just if you're listening to me, there's other people that do things similar to me, not exactly, nobody does anything exactly like I do, I'm sure. But there's lots of guys out there that do things similar to what I do. And if you follow the path that they do or that I do, you're definitely going to be in a minority, and you're going to be, well, shunned by a lot of people. But then again, if they're doing things wrong, you really want to be part of that group. So just remember, if you want to find that better way, you got to be open-minded, and you got to be willing to at least consider the possibility of something that seems pretty darn weird, abnormal, wrong, backwards. Yeah, a lot of those things. And so I just thought it's not just about catching horses, it's about horsemanship in general. Sometimes what you have to do to be right seems very wrong, but like I said in the beginning, there is a better way. Let's find it. Have a good day.